Hello, hello, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Submitted for Your Approval, the weekly card review show where we talk about cards for Collective, the community-created card game. Today we have something a little different going on. Grief is out for the next couple weeks, and so we are going to have double guest week. So, subbing in for Grief this week, we have a special guest who is very near and dear to my heart. It is actually my fiance. She does play the game, so say hi, Gummy.
Hi.
Hi, Gummy.
Okay. And as always, we have our regular panelist, Empty Folder.
Hello, everyone.
And today we are joined, again, we have, so with this double guest week, we're going to have a new guest and a returning guest. And one of them will be randomly picked to be filling in for Grief. So this time we have a returning guest, and that is Apra.
Hello.
I know it wasn't too long ago since he was on the show, but we decided we'd have him back since he was great. He was one of my first friends on the Discord. So I'm just going to hop right into it with Sangwald Diplomat. So this is not the version we actually talked about on the show, so I had to make sure to go back and talk about this one. Sangwald Diplomat is a 3-drop strength 2/3 vampire from Duskmere. Your other allied vampires get +1/+1, and active destroy an allied unit to give this +1/+1 and life bond. So this is a stack engine, which the game is kind of in a spot where it needs pretty badly. And an interesting one at that. Empty, what do you have to say about this design?
It's interesting. It kind of takes vampires in a different direction than what they were before, because most of the vampire units we have right now care about like life gain, and then this is a tribal lord. Although you can give it life bond, but that is pretty slow, and you have to do it in like a self-stack hybrid deck.
Yeah.
Although we did get the other vampire that cares about stack.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it'll make a day.
Yeah, I do agree with you. This is very slow. Of course, a great position for this if you just need a position is it is one of our only sack engines. So for a dedicated glowstone miner is what this could be. Gummy, you have any thoughts on this?
I like that I'm seeing something other than tribal plants, because for a while I felt like that's all I was seeing.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of tribal decks at all.
Yeah, no, so it's nice to see something a little bit different, and I like the fact that you can sack and destroy an allied unit to give it the +1/+1 and life bond. I'm assuming the life bond trigger would just stay static, but the +1/+1, you can build on that if you have a bunch of cheap allied creatures, potentially making something really big and scary.
Yeah. Apra, what's your thoughts on this?
I don't have too much experience with like vampires, but I think I like the self-sack kind of element of it.
Yeah.
My thought of trying out would be like a vampire penumbra like plant healing deck, and then like sacrifice your budding spire or something.
Oh
like
yeah, because I know you've been really pushing for seeing more interesting stuff in plants. That could work.
Not too much to add on this one though.
Yeah. Especially if we get like the Wispnado in from this week's submissions.
Yeah. Well, currently the vampire tribal deck is kind of completely carried by Cortez.
Yeah.
That's what I would expect,
yeah.
And so having some more tribal lords definitely should give it a step in the right direction to make it work. Ooh, this is kind of in an inconvenient location. Let's pop this back open. Okie dokie. So Wax Ruffling got in. That is awesome, and this is a fixed version of it, so we have something to talk about. Wax Ruffling is a 1-drop strength 0/2 wax golem from Lux, and when this is targeted by an allied card, give this +1/+1. So, Apra, what's your thoughts on it?
I like this one. I like that I think we talked about this in the episode I was...
So when we did, though, before that, it was only summons that it procced up, or was it actions? It was one of the other.
I think it was only actions.
It was only actions, yes. I was thinking of the Sweet Outlaw card. So this has changed to where it's by an allied card.
Oh, right, okay.
So what this means is you can actually get this in a dedicated, you could still get it in a dedicated equipment deck, but now you can also slot it into Nightlings.
Yeah,
if you want to build
like this one for sure. It's
yeah,
a lot of flexibility this time around.
Yeah, or if you're just really in a mood to make this stronger, I guess you can, and your opponent is playing like a unit list, you can hit it with a pan cat. I mean, why not, right?
I guess, yeah, it gives it +1 attack.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is very different. And I think this is definitely the version of the card that should get in. I'm
Yeah,
glad this is the version that got in.
I could see this being a Nightling staple, like with like the oh, I forget, I can't think of the name, but the one that makes all those little deal 1 damage and give it a buff kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, the curios.
The curios, yeah, like you could
Yeah.
just spam those on these. And
So do we feel like the Nightlings are going more in the world of Heldim or the world of Promot? Because Heldim doesn't have a deck right now, or does he? Does he have a really like a? Good,
I mean, okay. So the thing is, he does have decks. I think equipment is probably the best fit for him, since you can like buff up Cassiel and buff up a single unit, so you don't have to attack with a lot. The thing is, Heldim in general is kind of inferior to Permaw, so there's not that much of a reason to play him.
weirdly enough, the decks that I play can handle Perlmaw usually, but I've been wrecked by like Heldim equipment decks that just like buff Cassiel. And it's got this flying Cassiel that I can't deal with. But
yeah,
everyone's experience is different, I think.
I mean, it is quite a threatening deck when you can't deal with the Cassiel. The thing is, if you do have that removal for the Cassiel, the deck does kind of fall apart pretty quickly.
Fair enough.
So like having these other like early game units that are like good buff targets is very nice for the deck. I really like this this wax golem archetype that Spikebird is putting together. I've seen like some of the other designs that he's doing. It's pretty neat. The only thing that I'm not a huge fan of on this card is the wording. I think is a little unclear. Because at first I thought this worked with allied actives that targeted, and it doesn't actually work with those. It's only when you play unique cards.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it should be like when you play a card that targets this.
Yeah.
Something like that.
What do you think, Gummy?
Well, I'm really digging the art and the theme, and kind of like what you guys said, I am seeing that it is pretty versatile and how it could work with quite a few different things. I'm all about a versatile card.
Yeah. And I gotta say, I love this art and his cute little feeties. He's got the best little feeties. Like, I don't know. I want to hug him, but he would burn me, so I cannot. So let's talk about where the Turbo Habanero arts went. They've been on the art sheet for quite a while. I don't really know what happened to him, but I'm so glad he came around and contributed what he did. So this was your pick, right, Gummy?
Yes.
Skeletal Swordsman is a 4-drop Spirit 3/4 Undead Knight from nowhere in particular with Duelist, and the first time this duels each turn, ready this. This is interesting. Can you talk about why you picked it real quick?
Well, you made that Bullock deck for me, Stranger, that had Duelist, and I hadn't really worked that much with Duelist before, and it's kind of became one of my favorite mechanics.
No.
But like a lot of the Duelists I've dealt with, they're like 1/2 or 2/2. They're kind of on the lower end.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see something a little bit higher, but then I like the fact that it readies it and like preps it where it can go again. I just enjoyed that aspect.
Yeah. One thing that'll be fun with this is with Rosa. So if you're doing this with Rosa, then you can give that double duel effect to a larger thing because it is an undead.
Yes.
And that'll be a fun potential combo. But he is a 4-drop 3/4, so for the really swarmy undead decks, I don't really know if he's gonna have a spot, but he might. Empty, what do you think of it?
Well, like I do kind of like the fact that this is actually like a well-statted duelist in Spirit, because like you said, a lot of the Spirit duelists are like 1 and 2 drops. They don't really have any ones that compete with the strength duelists, and this does. So yeah, I like that about the card. And like you were saying, there's some neat stuff you can do with it. Attack and then, or use its duelist and then you can attack again. That's
Yeah, get your swinging with Baloo, because even with 4 HP, he's probably not going to survive multiple duels. He might. But he's also a really good potential buff target. So Undead has a lot of like permanent buffs, and you can get a couple permanent buffs into this guy and do something really spectacular, I think. Apra, what do you think?
I like the design. It's similar to an idea I had, but got downvoted completely. Where I did whenever it kills a unit, then ready this, and you can just keep dueling over and over.
Yeah.
But it seems a little overpowered. But this one, I think with it only being limited to twice, is a good design.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's not like it has a crazy amount of health where it can do like too much.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see where this fits into things. Apra, did you just do a self plug? Oh no, that's Spikebeard. You've just been working. You've been building a deck with it. This is not your card.
No.
Who was the one who was building a deck around with it? Oh, it was Wujek?
Wujek was like coming up with the idea, then I came up with a deck list to try it out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, this has been there have been a lot of words buzzing around this about a good plants tribal zoo thing, I guess. Phytoslug is a 1-drop spirit 1/2 plant slug from guess where in Terra. Whenever you gain 3 or more HP, create a silenced copy of this. So for those of you who have been living under a rock and don't play Collective, there's a card called Baleful Pumpkinkin. Shows up in a lot of spirit decks nowadays. And it's whenever you gain 3 or more life, you can deal 2 damage to an enemy unit or the opponent himself or herself. Gotta be inclusive. So this is another a different effect with the same trigger. So Apra, tell us a little bit about the deck list that makes this Phytoslug the star of the show, that might show up next month when cards rotate.
I'm not sure how competitively viable it'll be, but it's an interesting direction. Wujek was calling it Zoo Plants, which you kind of didn't like that name, but
it confused me.
Yeah. Anyways, this card can give you a pretty insane start. Like if you get 2 of these and a Spring Dew in hand as your starting hand, at the end of turn 2, you have 4 of these in play.
Yeah.
And you can continue to recur them the next turn after. 1/2s aren't too difficult to deal with. You know, if they have 1 lightning storm or whatever, they can just clear your entire board of these. Mm-hmm. But an idea that you could do with these is use those units that buff your plants, like the Thorn Regent gives them +3 or +2/+2, or the Snapdragon that turns them all into 5/5s. Mm-hmm. It works well in Colosseum so far, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be competitive.
Yeah, but for people who are just single-player players like me and Gummy, we don't care.
Yeah, I think at the very least, it will just be like an add-in when you're playing Baleful, because why not? It's just a ton of value for 1 mana.
Yeah. I think this Game 3 deck could be really fun. I'm going to call it the Game 3 deck because, I don't know. Gummy, what do you think of it?
I agree that it could work really well with like Baleful and the other Game 3 cards. As a science teacher, I'm really digging the art on this card. I absolutely enjoy it. Spikebeard did a good job. It's just, I'm digging the entire aesthetic of it. Sorry to rag on plants so much. Maybe if we get this Game 3 deck or this other plant deck list out, I can give it a try and see if maybe I'll warm up to it.
You just got banned from Antera, by the way.
Empty. Any final thoughts on this?
Well, I do find it pretty funny that Baleful has basically warped the entire plant archetype around it to now plants are the Game 3.
I love the game. I would love to see Game 3 become a thing.
No, I actually like this direction as well. I think it's a neat design. I really like the art as well. Yeah. It's really nice.
Okay, so I'm going to talk to you guys about the most important card that we will see all week. You all must upvote this. This is just required. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to make my case why this is the most important card you guys can upvote this week. Biobrilliance is a 4-drop spirit action from Entera with create a plant copy of a friendly unit. We need a clone effect. We are so scared of doing this onboard clone thing. Like, currently, it's at 4. That's so bad. Magic does clone at 4. I think we can do clone at 4, guys. We need, first of all, this is a great way to do it because it makes it a plant, so it helps your plant decks. This would give you another Baleful. Baleful's one weakness is that he's not very survivable. And this opens the door for us to have a baseline at what board copy effects should be at. And for those reasons, I think this is like we need to get this in, like somehow, please. I've wanted us to get onboard copy effects for so long, and Frozen came up with a beautiful way to do it. So that's my case. Do you guys agree with me? Do you guys disagree with me? Let's start with Gummy. Do you agree with me that we need more copy effects?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's like you said, it'll work really well with the plant decks, but on top of that, it could just really help pretty much in any deck you're running. Mm-hmm. Again, this also is a very versatile card, which I enjoy seeing.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, there are a couple of fun things you can do with double component mass. So like if you want to do a mass deck with like 2 of the same thing, I don't know. I think of those a lot because it's a deck I love. But I mean, this helps in like everything, and we need a baseline for this effect. Empty, what do you think?
I don't know if I'm really as enthused about this card as you are. I think it's just sort of like a basic, sort of simple card. I'm surprised we don't have something like this already.
That's why we need it. It's a baseline for the effect.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about it.
Yeah. Apra?
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it. It just doesn't really jump out as being something crazy revolutionary to me.
Exactly, but we have no effect like this. This is actually a novel effect for the game.
Well,
we have Grovenel at 8.
That's what I was thinking, like Grovenel, yeah. And that's kind of broken. So I kind of have a distaste for effects like this.
Because it's recurring. So yeah. Grovenel is recurring. You can do it on action.
So,
that's true.
Yeah. Important distinction is that Grovenel can hit anything on the board. Well, this is only friendly.
Yeah, so this is even a weaker version of it. This is clone. This is Well, this isn't even proper clone. But it does give it that plant tribe, which does.
You know what else this can do though is you can play Pier and then just copy your own Pier.
Yeah.
Oh, you can do that.
So that might be a little broken.
Hey, I'm advertising this card. Don't go shooting people down. Anyways, upvote Biobrilliance. It's a simple effect, but it is an effect we absolutely need in this game.
That's probably exactly why he made this card too, because he plays that Grovenel Pier thing.
Oh yeah, that's kind of scary because then you don't need Grovenel for the combo.
Let's make this exclusive before we put this in there.
Okay, so we've actually had quite a few new creators on the Reddit, and I've been super excited about that. So first I wanted to talk about Juliana Askov. I don't know. Juliana Askov. I don't know how to say that. That's fun, though. Hyperial is a 7-drop neutral action, but it's given the type Kindred City, which is a little bit of a goof, and we'll explain why in a second. From Talira, all your active cards gets flying, +3 attack and HP until the end of the turn. So I went into the blocks, and I'm going to translate this because the templating is a little bit off. What this card says, and it's actually shorter when you actually type it out, is friendly units get +3/+3 and flying until the end of the turn, is what this card's trying to do. So there's obvious why it's bad. So I'm going to get into the why it's bad. Kindred City is going to split those into 2 types, and we don't do that kind of flavor in the type line. So I would just get rid of this entirely. The art is beautiful, by the way. I did want to say that, kind of sandwich that in there. But it's flying in neutral. And that's something that a lot of people are going to be particularly upset about, which would explain why this is doing 0 on the subreddit. But I think it's a great first attempt. The art is really cool. The effect is really cool. What do you think about it, Apra, now that I've explained what the card actually does?
Super weak.
It's weak?
Just because it's only until the end of the turn.
So Iron Fist is +3 attack and no flying until the end of the turn. I guess that's an older card. Do you think this can afford to be pushed?
You know what? Now that I think about it, yeah, it is a lot of mana, but yeah, if you have a board full of like tokens, yeah, this will just kill your opponent. So yeah, maybe it's not super.
Especially in neutral, you could slot this into your
Yeah.
Phytoslug deck you're working on.
True,
So I don't know. I think this is really cool. Well, really potentially cool. It has some balance fixes it needs, but it could slot in and do a lot of cool. This is a finisher. This is like, I want you to die this turn, and here's how badly, right?
True enough, yeah.
This is something that could be really cool in Ash, and I don't know. I think it's pretty versatile. Gummy, what do you think of it?
A lot of the same thoughts you were having, that it does have really good potential. It just needs a bit of tweaking, like you said.
Empty, you got anything?
I quite like the effect. Now that Iron Fist has rotated, there's not really any card that does this sort of thing where you say, okay, I have a big board, time to cast this big spell and go in for lethal damage. And that's what this basically does. Like you said, there are a few problems with it. It being neutral for one, I think it should probably have an affinity. But yeah, I think it's a good idea. It just needs
I think it should be mined. I really want to see this.
Mine does make sense. It's also with the art because it has a lot of blue.
Sky Totem and all that looks.
Yeah, and I think this could help Ashgerty a lot. She's in a bad spot.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I definitely take back it being super weak because it's just actually a crazy finisher.
Well, that's why Fresmane couldn't get in the way she was. Yeah. Fresmane used to just give flying to everything, and that wouldn't work. People didn't like it because it was too OP. So the third card I wanted to talk about was mostly just because I'm a geek, and it was a very geeky card. And, wrong link. But yeah, is Cronekk Strategist. I don't talk about Space Turtle cards enough, and I feel like I'm super hard on Space Turtle, and I thought this card was so fun. So Cronekk Strategist is a 5-drop strength 4/4 Lizabo from Unguia with fast and summon, create 2 meeples, ready them. And a meeple is actually, by the way, it's a Nick McCormick card. It was designed by the creator. It was rotated. It was on 1 card, Smug Board Gamer. And it's a 1/1 duelist. This is cute at the very least. The question is this good? And that's the question I kind of actually wanted to turn around to you guys to answer. Gummy, what do you think of it first?
I think it's okay because, I mean, you're paying the 5 mana, which in some of the decks I run seems a little steep, but you're able to get 3 creatures for it. Not only that, but it's fast. It's able to be out, be ready quick. Not only that, but also the meeples are readied.
Yeah.
So you pay the 5 and you get 3 creatures in which, the meeples are little generic tokens that basically blockers, but you have the 4/4 that's readied as well, which I think is really good.
Yeah, this actually calls back to, there's a thing that gives all equipments fast, and if you have that out, I don't know if it's rotated or not, but that would this could do a killer combo with that, because you can get your meeple out, power it up, and then smack it without them being able to do anything at all. And that could be cool, but that's probably a little Magic Collective Wonderland. Empty, what do you think about it?
So Space Turtle does a lot of these sort of simple designs, and usually I don't have that much to say about it, which is sort of the case here.
Yeah.
It's definitely it's a referencing Smug Board Gamer, which has always been a bit of a meme because it completely breaks affinity identities and is also terrible. This is a lot better than Smug Board Gamer, which isn't saying too much. I do like the fast. It makes it so that there's interesting things you can do with this. And then also, obviously, you can duel with one of the meeples before your opponent can do anything. So you can sort of use it like an expensive pan cat to deal 1 damage. But you do get 2 of them.
Well, yeah, but it gives you two of them, and then you get a 4/4 body left behind, so that's fun. Apra, what do you think of it?
I really like this design, actually. The fast, like, token duelists, you can use those to, like, penetrate, like, a ward with 1 health or something.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a lot of the strength duelists, maybe you don't have quite enough to completely finish something off. And this can do that 1 damage difference where you just kind of like pick and choose where you want to do that 1 extra damage.
Yeah. I've run into that problem a lot with duelists, so actually I think that's probably one of the best things, is just a little chip damage when you need it.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see what role this this fills on the thing. Zany Ziggy. Oh boy, this is a fun one. The 3-drop spirit 2/2 tune from Karachar with unblockable, agile, and other units have untargetable, and they forgot to capitalize untargetable, or else it would have bolded it. So, who picks this?
It was me.
Shadow Knight will thank you. He's very excited about this card. Are you very excited about this card, Empty?
No. I would be terrified if this got in. So the first thing that like everyone brought up is that if you just get 2 of these on the field, everything is untargetable, which is like very problematic. And then it also has like unblockable and agile, so this is like 2 damage every single turn that your opponent can't really do anything about. And if you have 2 of them, it's 4 damage every turn that your opponent really can't do anything about.
Mm.
I do like the design of like giving all your other units untargetable. I think having like some sort of protector unit would be a cool design space.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it needs to be done really cautiously with like extra steps in there so that it can't be abused.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one thing I did notice is it broke affinity identities all across the board. Spirit is not supposed to have early game evasion. It is not supposed to have early game protection like this. So it's just horrible for affinity identities. And I think that was good, having Spirit's one weakness being that, and giving you this blanket untar is just so bad. What do you think about it, Gummy?
Actually, when I was choosing my cards, I overlooked this one and didn't think much of it. But now that like I'm looking at the card again, it's actually a little bit terrifying. Like to actually think about the implications, especially like Empty said, if you get multiple on the board, like good God. Ugh.
Well, and you think about like the swarm decks, like the one I built for you that we run. Spot removal just goes away at that point. Like you can't spot remove anything except this. So like I would totally splash this in my undead deck, and that's bad. I don't know. I can see why we might need something like this. It definitely needs a non-Ziggy Rider. I think it needs an affinity switch. Apra, what do you think?
Oh man, I absolutely hate this card. I don't know what else. Like I genuinely, when I saw this posted, I thought it was a joke, like just like a meme to like make a super overpowered card.
No,
but
it was not intended that way.
And this was an actual and then I looked at the card lab and like someone brought up, hey, if you have 2 of these, they're both untargetable. And Shadow Knight was like, yeah, that seems okay. And I'm just like, how is that okay? How is that okay to have your entire board untargetable? That just, it blows my mind. I tried to troll you on the little like submission sheet where you have all the links to the cards. I replaced like the URL that this goes to with the face bitter card. But then you copied it, like you just copied the actual links themselves, so it didn't work. But yeah, I just can't stand this card. I really think you need to be a little more cautious, especially with untargetable. Like there's just too many ways untargetable has like completely shaken the meta.
Okay, so let's talk about the Ickling. So Ickling, this is an Apra design. Thank you, Empty, for helping Apra out there. Ickling is a 1-drop Spirit 1/1 slime from nowhere in particular with Absorb 1. Absorb 1 is a new pitch for a keyword. With whenever this takes damage, it heals 1 of that damage, which prevents death. So you can't pan-cat this. This is an unpan-catable spirit unit. Besides that, Apra, tell me a little bit about the design process going into this one.
Yeah, someone brought up different keywords, and then someone mentioned Absorb. Like, you know what? It's kind of strange that we don't have an effect like that in this game, and it actually has a lot of unique like uses for it. Like anything like a pomegranate, it can just keep taking the pings without actually dying. You can play Forest of Cinders with some of these on boards, and they just survive all of the recursions of it. Aragos can prevent lethal from that. It was a complete pain in the ass to block because I noticed that overrun units, when they hit it, it would just like never kill it. It would do 1 damage and then go face after that. So I had to like figure out a way to make it detect if it was being hit by overrun units, and like it was a lot of work to get it working properly. But
Well, no, that's the correct interaction though.
well,
Overrun says deal damage equal to its HP and then the rest to your opponent.
Sort of. I think intuitively you'd want the overrun to actually do enough damage to kill it, and then do the remainder to the next target or the face or whatever.
Okay.
But I mean, I guess that is a possible interpretation of it.
Yeah, well, we have no comprehensive rules, so that's an issue.
Right.
Yeah.
But in MTG slang, the way an absorb effect would work would be that way.
Okay.
The way it's worded currently. Gummy, what's your thoughts?
Okay, I really want to see this mechanic take off and become a thing. That's very creative and it's really thoughtful. I just really enjoy it, and I like the art and the theme of it. You did a good job. You and Spikebeard did a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is actually recycled art from another card, by the way.
I love it.
I didn't know he actually had a card with this on it. Like it never made it in, obviously, right?
Yeah. Empty, what's your thoughts?
Okay.
I'm also a big fan of this mechanic. I think it has a lot of like interesting applications, especially with stuff that like grants absorb. I also really want to see absorb on like rage units. I think that would be pretty cool. Yeah, it's a solid mechanic. So like the MTG does have this mechanic. It was on 1 card.
1 card.
I think we like having this keyword. I think we can explore it a lot more. And like it's been a while since we've had a new keyword. Those are kind of hard to do post text crunch. So
I should bring up that it was brought to my attention that it's the exact keyword from MTG, so I changed it to endure, which is pretty intuitive as well, I think. Yeah, Tahazar brought it up in the on the Reddit that we probably shouldn't use the exact same keyword, so I'm just gonna have that submitted as like a cosmetic thing right away.
Yeah. Technically, by the way, it absorb is a replacement effect, whereas this is a trigger. So.
Right.
Oh, so is that what the updated version is?
Yeah, I just kind of like updated, changed the text a little bit, so it's more concise too.
Okay, the Maw Monster. This is at like 0, isn't it? Oh, it's at 1. It got to 1, guys. Maw Monster is a 4-drop strength 4/4 demon from nowhere in particular with regenerate. Whenever a card enters a hand except from the deck, banish it and herald 1. So BGG was stealing my Institution Impatient and making it into something different. I would rather have Institution Impatient. Gummy, what do you think of this?
I don't really think too much of it, honestly. It's a 4/4 for 4. That's kind of average. Herald 1, regenerate.
So this stops like tokens entering hand, or when cards get bounced, it banishes them. So, yeah.
It isn't really standing out too much for me, I guess.
And apparently a lot of people agree with you. Apra, what do you think about it?
When a card enters hand except from the hand, banish it. No, I like it. It's like the anti-Maw. Yeah, it's just a good it's kind of a graveyard hit to me.
Yeah. So it keeps, oh, that's the other thing, is it keeps certain recursion effects from happening. And rebound.
Okay.
Oh, this shuts down rebound,
Yeah.
folks. So that's interesting. Do you have any closing thoughts on this? Surprisingly, we didn't have much to say on it.
Well, it also completely shuts down Pearl Maw.
Yeah.
Like the doubloons just disappear. Also, any level up rewards
wow.
that go to him, those disappear as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, anything Impatient would have done, this does, basically, but it turns it into fuel for a Herald Fire. So you would never run this in Pearl Maw, because this loses you your doubloons. So this is a Haldean card. This is interesting. I really don't know what to make of this. I think that might be why people are downvoting it. I feel like we should have more to say, but I don't know what we have to say about it. I am excited to see this Go-Kurt start getting attention again. It's just wacky. Like, I don't even know if that's necessarily what Heldim needs. So anyways, let's go to the top of Gummies picks. The Dutchess Danza is a 3-drop spirit 2/2 tune undead vampire from Karachar. It's rare, we can only get one of those. All friendly units have Entomb, gain life bond, and at the end of turn, destroy this, then return it to play. Active, destroy and return a unit and give it this unit's tribes. So everybody's going to be tunes, everybody's going to be undeads, everybody's going to be vampires. Gummy, why'd you pick it?
I picked it because I really like the theme of the card. Life Bond is another one of my favorite abilities, like, in the game. And so I like the fact that you can destroy it, return it into play, get the Entomb trigger, but then also you can run tribal with it as well and just do other combos and shenanigans with it that way.
Yeah, so this works good with, like, undeads, vampires, stuff like that. Maybe even tunes, who knows? We need more Lord effects for that to happen, but it could happen. And, of course, we were talking about this before the show, how Grave Rave makes this nuts. It was designed for Grave Rave.
Yes.
So the gain life bond would then be applied to all your creatures immediately. It is not doing too hot, probably, because it's too powerful, but I could be missing something. Apra, what do you think of this?
I don't really understand the purpose of it dying at the end of turn. Like, it doesn't stand, like, I can't, you're looking at it trying to figure out what that does.
It gives it life bond the first time, but yeah, every time after that is just confusing.
Why not just have life bond on it instead of that effect?
It might have even been able to be an uncommon at that.
Yeah, I guess, like, one thing that would do is help Marie trigger her passive, but it just seems a little odd on the card. Other than that, it looks really useful. I'm not sure if it's a good effect to have for that price, but
yeah. Empty, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that second line is, like, mostly a flavor thing. It gives it a really weird form of regenerate and then life bond past the first turn. But I think they could have just stuck with life bond and it would have been fine. Other than that, it's a pretty solid design. I do like having another, like, Entomb synergy card. The other thing that I'm not a huge fan of is that the active can hit anything. So this, like, completely ruins equipment decks. Like, as long as this thing is out, you're just going to get nowhere. Because they're just going to destroy your unit and bring it back, and the equipments will fall.
Of course it does. Yeah, that's another interesting thing to note about it, is this very good control. So yeah, I think this needs some tweaking. That middle effect is Distractor, and if without that effect, it fits on an uncommon, I would be upset to see this thing get in, because this
the more that I look at it,
this doesn't feel like it deserves to be all the way to the rare with that effect that barely does anything.
Yeah, the active is just removal almost. It's just like I first saw it as a friendly unit. I didn't even see that it could do enemy units.
Yeah, so it also gives us an exhauster, which is super versatile and fun, but that middle, I don't know. Okay. So we'll see. It's not doing too hot, but maybe it'll come back in the next week with some changes. Now, totally unprompted, Gummy has agreed to review one of my cards to plug one of my cards for me. Sam the Ram Mascot is a 4-drop strength 3/3 sheep horror from Carthian. With whenever this kills a unit, gain its stats and active duel another unit. So this is something Carthian's going to play around with a little bit. It's kind of like a dark version of a certain amusement park franchise that we're all very familiar with. You know, global conglomerate. But I'm playing with like the dark version of those tropes, and really playing in like that childhood nostalgia, but like warped. And I thought it was really fun. People are disagreeing with me. Let's talk about why, but let's start with why Gummy picked it.
Okay, so when I was scrolling through trying to choose cards, the art just like immediately stood out to me and made me want to read the effect. So
Yeah.
then as I go through and I'm reading the effect, I like the fact that it has the active where you can duel another unit. So you could just buff it up, give it some equipment, duel a unit, and just continue to gain stats like at a pretty rapid rate.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just like the ability and the potential that the card has to offer.
Yeah, it's a fun little snowball thing. Apra, I think you could see in it a little bit of a old grudge renewed with this, right?
What's that? That it's Gulpy?
Yeah, it's a Gulpy.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
a card
it's,
me and Apra were like so excited about way back when that never really got in. And I had this new card and I was trying to find a flavor for it, and I kind of settled on this. By the way, for those of you who are curious about active duel another unit, the reason it's worded like that is you can hit your own stuff, and so you can use your own units to make it bigger if your opponent's playing low on units, or if you have a unit you really need to sacrifice. So this is also a sack engine. And that's part of what has me really excited about the possibility of doing this. If you give it regenerate, it's bonkers. Of course, that's a little tricky to do.
mhm.
Apra, what do you think of it?
Well, I made the Gulpy the one that you plagiarized, so I mean, I'm obviously gonna like this one. No, it's a really fun effect. It's hard to tell because I remember that one was actually really strong. Like it could grow really big pretty easily. When it does kill something, it does still take the damage, I assume. So it doesn't grow quite as much as it seems. Like if you hit like a 2/2, it's gonna end up as like a 5/3
Yes.
still, not a 5/5.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I really enjoy that mechanic of just like dueling and growing as you duel. Grammar-wise, there's a little apostrophes in the wrong spot there, but
Oh, whoops.
I would fix that.
Yeah, I have a problem with that. The other thing about this is I was hoping to build out some stacks places. And so having a bunch of places with like negative effects, you can like eat them up, but that would be kind of like a later development idea for it. I'm sure there are some other things you can do with it that are just to give it back that HP stat because it's not ever generate or anything of the kind on the card. Why does everyone hate this, Empty?
Because it's another snowball duelist unit. Which,
I see.
yeah, like a lot of people, including me, aren't really a fan of those units because they just sort of snowball away the board, and they double as removal. So eventually, your opponent just like can't really play anything, and like has to have removal spells. Which, if they're playing an aggro deck, they probably won't, and then they just lose. Yeah, that's the main thing. And so this was submitted with a founder statue. And that one I actually really like, but this one I'm not such a big fan of. It also competes with the 4-drop strength duelists, which we already have 2 of.
Yeah.
Actually, I think we have 3. But it's just like a niche that's sort of already filled by quite a few other cards as well.
Well, I think this art's pretty stellar, and I do see what you're saying about that. I might see if I could get a slightly tweaked version of the effect on it that's a little less powerful. I don't think I'm going to go out and out say duel a friendly unit, though that would be interesting in its own right. But we will see. Okay, now this one was an oddball. So for those of you who don't know, Chromazone used to be playing a lot with Kyungmi, almost Kyungmi specific cards where they had a different effect based around your affinity, but that space got kind of mined out, and a lot of the effects cards were looking really similar. So we have Wispnado. Wispnado is a 5-drop strength 3/3 Wisp elemental from Chromosome with simply friendly spirit units have flying. So Gummy, why'd you pick it?
Well, you've heard me complain time and time and time again that Spirit does not have that much access to flying, I feel like. And so finally giving friendly Spirit units access across the board to flying is something I am all about entirely.
Yeah, so running this off affinity in a Spirit deck gives you late game access to evasion. But unlike the other card we looked at, the 7-drop neutral thing, it doesn't give you that big buff. So you're having to rely on your current strength. And a lot of the Spirit decks are a little bit more swarmy. People are probably just super scared of mass flying, though, because it's not doing super hot. But maybe there's something else I'm missing. Empty, what are your thoughts?
Well, I actually think it's very weak. The problem with this compared to the other card that we looked at is that this is a unit.
Yeah.
And you're paying off affinity penalty for it too. So if you drop this on turn 6 and your opponent just removes it, all your stuff loses flying and you don't get anything, which is like a huge blowout. So still an incredibly bizarre design. So it's bringing flying to Spirit, which is something that Spirit doesn't have like at all. It's not part of their affinity identity. And then it's a strength unit too. So you have to play
that justifies it, right? Because
yeah, it sort of does, but it's really weird. It's very strange.
So I think what Zinker's trying to tell us is he's trying to push for more of these units that you have to play off affinity, but give an affinity access to something it doesn't normally have, which is what I think off affinity should be about. And so I think this is totally fair game. As much fair game as Dan is for being a neutral unit that creates 3 tokens with affinity-specific effects.
Which we are nerfing really soon.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Please don't. But anyways, I think it's fair. I think this effect is definitely fair, and it's weird, and I like fair and weird. Apra, do you like fair and weird? Do you think having this whole off affinity?
I like the idea. I think I agree with Empty that it's weak. I think that it could probably be justified as just like a summon effect that just gives your spirit units flying.
That would be cool.
Yes. Yeah, because once you remove this, like you say, you just wasted 6 mana on nothing.
Yeah.
I personally, I play a lot of spirit with that flying is something it really struggles with. And that could be an interesting direction is like my Black Widow. If they have a flyer, my Black Widow, they just attack with the flyer. I can't make them attack with something that I want to block with.
Because the game when most of us came in is before or like shortly after the Steam beta was like flying is in such a weird spot because it doesn't show up enough. And so having some of these more pushed effects would let us, first of all, it lets us build in like the control against flying we need and build it out because it's like such a stable effect in card games that we need effects like this. But yeah, I agree with what you guys are saying that maybe it could use a balance or maybe something that makes it so it's not such a feels bad when you lose your 5/5. Also, it should have flying itself. It's a tornado. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it's a little
weird.
strange.
But I would definitely suggest resubmitting it. Resubmitting with a summon effect, I think that would be a lot more interesting to me. I don't know if people will. I think people just have a distaste for off affinity mechanic type stuff. But I haven't had too much success with those kind of cards either. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I still am going to hold out hope for it. It would be interesting to see more effects like that. Burn the Spire. We got a Spike Bear design, guys. Burn the Spire is a 3-drop neutral action from nowhere in particular. Oh, this is interesting. Deal 3 damage to a unit until end of turn. Your opponent loses all HP they gain this turn. So, this is interesting. This is scary. Gummy, what do you think of it? I'll let you talk first.
It's interesting, definitely, to say the least. I mean, there's certain decks where this would really, set your opponent back a turn. But then there's other times where I don't feel like it would be very applicable at all. So it would just really depend on the setup and how you're playing it and
Yeah.
who you're playing against.
I
It
feel
seems very situational.
Yeah, I feel like this should definitely be a mind card, don't you guys think?
Yeah.
It's unit burn and anti-life gain, which are both pretty solidly mind effects.
The thing is, Mind already has an anti-healing card, so I think the idea with making it neutral is to get other affinities a way to deal with healing decks.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
because for certain aggro strategies, there's like no way that they can beat a heal deck right now. So I think the goal here is to make that a possibility for them.
Also interesting is this doesn't, I mean, because you can't in the rules engine, this does nothing against Game 3. So the
No.
Game 3 archetype still gets all of their, I mean, they lose the life they gain, but they could probably crack the rule of 13 and still gain some of that life anyway. I don't know. That'll be super interesting. Empty, you have any more thoughts on it?
I think it's a bit undertuned. And like it only shuts down life for one turn. So like your opponent can just hold off on their life gain cards. Unlike the other card, which is Devilish Suitor, that your opponent has to like remove it in order to turn life gain back on, and this it doesn't. And then like if you're not running against a life gain deck, like this is really bad because 3 mana for 3 damage to a unit is a pretty poor rate if you're not getting anything else out of it.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Isn't there some sort of weird jank combo with Devilish Suitor that this would also slot into? Where you like gain all the life you lose and then you lose all the life you gain and it just loops? Find that combo. That's a challenge for my viewers now. Apra, go.
I just love that this is like basically a budding Spire hate. Like it's literally budding Spire burning.
Oh, I can see that. That's beautiful.
So, like traditionally, if I was going to try and set up a budding Spire, like finishing, I guess you could still finish them, but like a huge damage turn, I would play a bunch of heals and then budding Spire. And if they just threw this on there, it would completely backfire on me. So I thought it was an interesting design. I don't think the numbers are quite right. It could probably be cheaper or have a different like damage effect, but it's kind of interesting to have more anti-heal effects. I think there's probably room for that in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the funny thing is that it doesn't do that good of a job of actually countering budding Spire.
Yeah.
Usually your opponent gains all the HP they're going to gain before they play Spire, so your opponent can't remove it and like lower the amount of damage you're going to deal.
Okay, the Triblade. Oh, this is one of those Invoke designs. This is fun. Triblade is a 3-drop mind 1/3 robot from Mortstall, Realm of the Dead Things, with Invoke If Able, which means play this after attacks are declared. And entrance, deal 1 damage 3 times to an enemy attacker. So this is very clearly. What? Huh? So this doesn't like proc any special Ashgirdy things, right? So why does it deal 1 damage? Apra, explain this card to me. I don't get it.
I don't necessarily understand the 1 damage deal 3 times. It seems kind of flavorful with the Triblade thing. But I do like the idea of the keyword invoke, where it's played after attacks are declared. Yeah, like if you one thing I noticed that this would kind of anti-synergize with is the slime one that I just made, because it would basically not do anything to it. Yeah, I like the effect. I like things that trigger before combat because it's kind of like you hold it in their hand, they play everything, and then you counter it.
Yeah, I think we need a better like way to get new keywords into the game, because this could totally be like a uncommon or even lower. But because text crunch and the rarity barrier, it's hurting it. It's actually hurting it in the votes. 6, it's actually doing pretty well in the votes despite all that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just in a weird spot. Gummy, what do you think?
this is the first time I've seen a card try to get in with Invoke, actually, and I really do seem to like that mechanic. I don't get the point of the whole entrance, the deal 1 3 times. I don't get it. I don't understand why it's there. I feel like you could have put just about anything else there and it'd be more beneficial. But
Does it break through ward? Like
Deal
does,
3 damage once. No.
would that break through ward, or does it just would ward absorb all 3?
No, ward absorbs it. It's all one effect.
Maybe we'll
think.
have to ask Cornmeal what that.
Well,
what
think
that
about Forest
will do.
Descenders, right?
because yeah, if it does something against ward, then yeah, that's useful as heck. But if it doesn't do anything against ward, I
Like
don't see
maybe
what
if
other
they have a
use it
rage that's like negative or something.
Oh, this will triple proc opponent rages? That's horrible.
Yeah, so, and the funny thing is, this isn't an optional thing, and it's only on the attacker. So if your opponent knows that you have this, they can send in their 1 rage unit, and you have to play this and have to target it.
Yeah.
You better spend your mana in that case, I think.
Yeah. In that case, you would probably just spend all your mana.
Yeah, we need more rage units to make this harder to play. I don't know. We need a better way to get new keywords into the game than this. It's interesting, though. It's definitely worth talking about. And, of course, Cornmeal did really great on that art. It stands out. It's flashy, even though it's a little hard to... Like, where's his face? Is that his eye? Do you guys think that's his eye? I think that's his eye. I'm going with that. Is he going yeah? I think he's going yeah.
I do like this way of doing like the in-combat play cards where you have to play it rather than the ones where you choose, because it prevents a bunch of choose windows from popping up all the time.
Definitely.
Yes.
Although if critical mass gets into the game, it's going to be really annoying because they'll get played in an order based around time, which you can't really control. And that's kind of problematic in its own right.
Isn't it based on hand order?
Yeah, hand order. So time. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Time. So I don't really know if this could be a deck, but it could definitely be a mechanic. It's the Chaos Shard. By the way, this is designed by Hyperberd, who's a new designer. Probably unrelated to Spikebeard, though it would be interesting if that was not the case. Chaos Shard is a 1-drop neutral 1/1, nothing of any kind from nowhere in particular, with rebound and active shuffle all decks. Interestingly enough, this is a cool control tool. It shuts down like a lot of scour decks. This shuffles Wisdom, which Wisdom is so good it's ran off Affinity. So like that could potentially be really fun. Yeah, this is cool. Apra, tell me about this card.
Yeah, I chose this because it's a new designer. I think the effect could be tweaked a little bit, but we were actually talking about it in the voice chat. And at first it kind of stood out like, whoa, what's the point of that? But then we realized, hey, this could actually be a useful mechanic. Change their scour, you know, if someone plays the super oppressive Pinchy card, you just completely screw up his whole his whole game plan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope this person continues to make cards, because I think this could definitely shake things up with if Scour becomes a really like a good archetype right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of other things. This should, by the way, gorgeous art, Apra. No, this should be an artifact, I guess, or something. I think that's what the shard on in Kindler's Strife is. It needs to have a type of some kind because that just looks weird. It makes me think it's an action, but it's not. It's a little quirky. It needs to find its spot.
See, I think it would probably make more sense as an action than an active, because why would you want to play that more than once?
Yeah, probably. Gummy, what's your thoughts?
I really like the card a ton. I love the art. It's beautiful. It looks absolutely amazing. But I really like the idea of shuffling the decks and all the chaos it could cause, but also potentially how it could help. Like, it could help you and hurt your opponent at the same time, but then also it could hurt you or help your opponent. It depends because it just randomly shuffles it. And so I like all of the possibilities that could come out of it.
Yeah, because you could also run this like with scour effects to, if you don't like your scour, to fix it up. That's something I didn't think about.
Yeah.
Empty, what do you think about it?
It's a really strange card. I'm trying to think of like a situation where I would like want to run this. I think the problem is that like the cost of running this type of effect is just a bit too high. Because the unit side of it, a 1-mana 1/1 even with rebound is very understated.
Yeah.
So if you're not getting any value off its active, which is going to be the case fairly often, then it's not that great.
This could be like a 1-mana 0/4 maybe.
What does stand out?
My first thought would be like a 1/2 and then keep the rebound.
Well, it has the active, so it probably isn't for attacking, right?
I think probably the best use of this is at the start of the game after they play Pilgrimage to get their wisdom way in the middle of their deck.
Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if it slots in. It's kind of a tech card, but there are some things you could play to deliberately run with it. I think that was the end of the list. Sorry, by the way, last week we forgot 2 cards. I think they were both like Space Turtle cards, and so I just wanted to issue sort of a public apology. I made sure to talk about at least one of your cards this time. And so you guys were 2 cards short. That's totally my bad. I'm the one running the little thing. So I'm going to stop the share. This episode was really fun, and it was so great having my fiance on. I hope you enjoyed being on the show.
I did. It was fun.
Okay. Also, of course, as always, it's nice having an empty folder on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And it was great having you back, Apra. You have so much fun insight to share with us, and it was really cool seeing you again. And you're cool. Your tatami mat thingy. Looks like you're at some hotel in the Orient or something. Because you also got like the silhouette of the plant. Yeah.
I guess. It's all IKEA.
Yeah. So anyways, thank you guys. I hope you enjoyed our double guest weeks. These will be continuing for a little bit, and I'll try to get one new, one old guest every week. I don't know if I'll make that happen, but we'll see. So keep on playing collective. Like, comment, and subscribe. Remind me why I'm doing this. And keep voting on cards and playing. So bye. Come on, guys. Wave. There we go.
Bye.